I'm Roxy Todd. A lawsuit was filed in 2019 on behalf of nearly 7,000 children in West Virginia's foster care system. Plaintiffs in the case say the state isn't doing enough to help kids, and they're asking for more reforms. The state argues they're already taking measures to resolve these issues. With the case expected to go to trial in the fall of 2021, I spoke with those who filed the lawsuit to get a better understanding of the changes they say the state needs to make.
The question is, a state can pass legislation and it can pass policy, but what matters is how these changes are implemented. They have a lot of good policies, but they're not implementing them.
Marcia Lowry is a lawyer with A Better Childhood, also known as ABC, a national child advocacy group. She's part of the team that filed the lawsuit against the state of West Virginia on behalf of 12 foster care children. The suit claims they were mistreated and shuffled between, quote, inadequate and dangerous placements, forced to unnecessarily languish in foster care for years, end quote. The state DHHR disputes that these issues are widespread. According to the DHHR, 12% of children who are in the agency's custody live in institutional settings, what the state calls residential treatment programs. For teenagers, the rate is much higher, 44%. 18-year-old Jared Mitchell is one of the plaintiffs in the ABC suit, who says he was shuffled between group homes, shelters, and psychiatric hospitals from age 11 until he aged out of foster care.
When I was 12, my worker had sent me to a residential group home for boys that had committed a sex offense. And I didn't commit a sex offense.
A judge later found that although the DHHR investigated Mitchell for sexual misconduct, they never brought any charges or presented any evidence in court. And yet he wound up in a group home in Tennessee, where most residents were over the age of 15 and had charges pending against them for sex offenses, including rape.
I was mad that I was around that type of environment and I didn't need to be. It got to my head, it started making me depressed, and it started making me think man, I'm never gonna get out.
Mitchell felt uncomfortable at the facility and says he begged his caseworker to move him. But he remained there for a year and a half. Later, when Mitchell was 16, he was sent to a maximum security detention center in Boone County, West Virginia. He alleges the only reason he was placed in this prison-like environment was because there were no emergency shelters available.
Most nights, it was like I would get comfortable, but I would wake up and my back would be stiff or my neck would hurt because I'm sleeping on pretty much bare sheet metal.
He spent his 17th birthday behind bars.
I was depressed because not because I wasn't getting any gifts or nothing, but because I had no one that I actually cared about or no one that I trusted to spend time with me for my birthday.
Mitchell's former lawyer, Scott Briscoe, says stories like these are too common in West Virginia.
I have children in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Florida, all up and down the East Coast. And I think that we need to focus on getting them the services here at home instead of sending them abroad.
And that's one of the main arguments of the ABC lawsuit, that the state of West Virginia sends too many children to live in out-of-state institutions. Last year, state lawmakers passed bipartisan legislation aimed at improving the system. The new law is still in its infancy, so it's not clear yet if it will result in fewer children placed in residential care. The law doesn't reduce the caseloads for CPS workers. That's one of the main changes to foster care that Jared Mitchell and the other plaintiffs in the ABC case say they want.
But I just hope for it to better the system and change it and supply more workers and actually help kids out instead of putting them in placements over and over again just because they don't know what to do with them. I don't think that's fair to the children.
Mitchell says he rarely saw social workers, and when he did, they seemed ready to judge him.
I was a child, a very young child at that, facing a courtroom. I definitely needed a bigger brother, like someone, not exactly a bigger brother, but someone that could teach me how to get through it. Someone that's been through it, someone that could teach me how to get through it.
At times, Mitchell said he lost hope that he would ever be free. But something changed for him when he turned 17. Remember how he woke up inside a maximum security detention center on his 17th birthday? Later that day, he had a surprise.
We had went to the dining hall for dinner. The cook had put a piece of cake on my tray.
It was a small gesture, but it made a big difference.
After that, it was like I started getting just a little bit more hope.
He began thinking about the future, and he reached out to his uncle and aunt in Cleveland. They offered to take him in once he aged out of foster care. Mitchell lives there now, in their home. He dreams of becoming a tattoo artist and opening his own shop.
Because whenever I was locked up and putting all these placements back to back, I had found one coping skill, and I was drawing.
One of his reoccurring themes is Mickey Mouse.
For me, Mickey Mouse is a symbolization for me to where I never had a childhood, so it was like a constant reminder to, if I ever have a son, to make sure he has a good childhood, or if I ever have a daughter, make sure she has a good childhood.
During our interview, I asked Mitchell if he would draw something that's important to him. He sat down and drew an intricate design with the words "Stand Up for Children" at the center of the page. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Roxy Todd.